Greetings and welcome. My name is Bill Milford, and I am the director of the field program at Thomas University, and it's my pleasure to provide you this orientation to our field internship program and provide you with some information about Thomas University, the social work program, and how our field internship program works. For those who don't know, Thomas University is located in Thomasville, Georgia, about 30 miles north of Tallahassee across the Georgia border. And we have a CSWE, it's Council on Social Work Education, accredited Bachelor of Social Work program for both our on-campus program and for a fully online Bachelor of Social Work program. And here's our beautiful part of our campus, and here's our mascot, which is a nighthawk. And let me introduce you to the faculty. So here I am. And this is Dr. Deborah Gresham, who is our social work program director. And here is Dr. Susan Fowler, who is the coordinator of our Thomasville program. And in social work, we often say we stand on the shoulders of giants who've come before us in doing good work and establishing best practices in social work. And so in my case, I'm standing squarely on Dr. Fowler's shoulders. She's run the field program for 20 years. And she has set up just a beautiful path of great relationships with agencies and policies within our field program that I will be following and building upon in the future. We also have the very talented Candace Strickland as our administrative assistant to help us keep afloat in all things paperwork or digital, as the case may be. So the first thing I want to do is thank you for your interest, or if you've already agreed to be a field educator for us, thank you so much, because this is how our students learn the best. The Council on Social Work Education says field is the signature pedagogy, that this is the way social workers learn about doing social work, is by getting out there and doing what social workers do. And so by being an excellent role model and by doing what you do best, you'll be teaching our students the best. And we have sort of a saying about our practice work that help isn't help unless it's helpful, that we're trying to teach students about how to achieve positive outcomes for clients. This is where they really get a sense of how that happens and some of the challenges that come along with providing those types of services. And constantly and consistently, we get feedback from our students that their field experience is one of the most significant parts of their studies, because they're actually out doing things in the real world. So here's the theory behind field. If you don't recall from your own previous experience, but the Council on Social Work Education gives us a number of standards. And in this case, what we mostly are paying attention to are competencies that they say social workers should be skilled at in order to become a professional social worker. In each of these areas, the established behaviors that go along with these competencies that are important for students to learn about in order for them to gain social work skills. So what we do as a faculty is we try to establish a curriculum whereby the students can learn about all of these competencies, and they do that through a variety of classes. Almost all of these classes the students will have taken by the end of their junior year, except for the practice with groups and communities and organizations, and the practicum, which is the actual internship in a field seminar class. So here's where the reality comes in of the practice of these competencies, is that the challenge for our field internship program is for our students to learn these same competencies that they've learned the theories about during their junior year, while during their senior year for them to go out into a field setting and to learn about those competencies through doing work with actual clients and actual social work professionals such as yourselves. So here are some of the basics regarding the field internship program that are important to know. Number one, that we place students with social service agencies throughout Georgia and Florida, and now throughout the United States because of our online BSW program. We're unique in that we have a concurrent field placement strategy. This is often different than especially larger universities where they do block placements, where students do their entire field placement during one semester, 35, 40 hours a week. We break ours up into 2 semesters, the fall and spring semester, starting in the fall. And our students average about 14 hours per week, 200 hours per semester, and 400 hours total for the year in order to complete their field commitment. Through discovering the competencies at their field placement, they develop a learning plan. The learning plan is where they detail out how they're going to find out about these competencies and how they're going to experience them through having various tasks that they participate in and discussions, and they create experiences where the competencies actually come alive to them in terms of them seeing how these competencies affect how agencies do their work with their clients. Their progress is kept track of in weekly timesheets, which log their progress in those learning plan tasks, and there are evaluations and site visits that also measure their progress. And there's a weekly 1-hour supervision with a CSWE accredited BSW or MSW field instructor that's required for every student in a field placement. So that's the theory, and this is how we practice it. Now let's get down to some of the details and the fine print. So for our field agencies, it's important for you to know before we start a placement with a student at your agency, we need to have a memorandum of understanding that's established between the agency and the university. We'll send out a template of that for you to review it, and then we have to get our Vice President of Academic Affairs to sign it along with a administrator at your agency in order to get that relationship established. We want to have our students do an interview with every agency to make sure that there is a goodness of fit, that both the agency desires to work with the student and the student feels comfortable in that agency setting. And also, before students can begin doing a field placement, they must obtain student malpractice insurance, which they obtain through the National Association of Social Workers. Once they are established and the agreement has been made in terms of where the student will be placed, and the student and the agency are in agreement about that, then we need to make sure that we have a BSW or MSW on staff that will provide that 1 hour of supervision for the student every week. There are situations where an agency can provide a task supervisor, that is someone who supervises the student for the other 13 hours during the week, and an outside BSW or MSW will provide the social work supervision. That's not the preferred way to do it, but it certainly is one way that we've done it in order to make sure that we can give students the field experience that they desire, and for agencies that really wish to have social work students on site. Very early on in the process, within the first month, we need to get a placement agreement. And that agreement is basically an agreement of what the schedule will be for the student in the agency. Clarifying this right away early on helps to avoid any conflicts later on in terms of when the student is supposed to be at the agency and the number of hours that on each day that they'll be doing. Also early on, within the first month, is going to be the creation of a learning plan. And that learning plan is where those competencies are integrated with tasks that the student intern will do in order for them to get a sense of how those competencies live in the agency setting. Each week, students do a timesheet and submit that timesheet. And also, we provide site visits, 2 site visits in the fall, in the midterm, and the end of the semester, and 1 in the spring. And those can either be done on site if it's a local agency, or by Zoom if it's out of town, or if that's the preference of the field seminar instructor and the agency. Also, evaluations of the students are done midterm and in the final week of each semester. And then there's a detailed end of the year evaluation, which is done by the competency behaviors that are listed by the Council on Social Work Education for each one of the competencies. And we also ask students and field faculty to evaluate the field program at the end of the year. In the field manual that we'll be providing you is a timeline of when all of those various tasks need to be completed, and students have a field seminar class that goes along with their field internship experience, where we are meeting with the student weekly in order to review their progress towards each of these tasks, and we'll keep in touch with you via email and via videos in order to make sure that you know what is expected when. And we have resources to help all of this go smoothly. The primary resource will be the field liaisons and seminar instructors, which are Dr. Fowler and myself. I will be largely managing the online students, and Dr. Fowler will be having campus and locally based students in Georgia in her seminar class. We have a detailed field manual that breaks down all of the processes, procedures, documents, and guidelines regarding the field experience for your reference, and that's also provided to the students so that they have a clear guideline on how all of these various steps move along and can be detailed. There's also a competency discussion guide, and the competency discussion guide provides sample questions that field supervisors can use to stimulate discussion with the student regarding each one of the competencies and their related behaviors. And there's a field application workbook that we've put together from previous learning plans, and we've listed out many of the activities that previous successful learning plans have utilized regarding each one of the competencies and behaviors that you can use as a catalyst to help create the tasks that you'd like to have at your site. We are striving to have a paperless environment in terms of all of the paperwork that's involved with the field program. And to that extent, we use a program called Tavera. And Tavera will enable all of the student timesheets to be submitted via their software. They'll go directly to the supervisors for you to log into the program and to approve them. And also Tavera will manage all of the evaluations that we need to have done. And throughout the semester, I'll be providing various training videos regarding Tavera and any of the specific tasks that need to be accomplished, such as the learning plan and the evaluations. So you'll have some support and guidance at each step of the way. And at any time, if you need to receive additional support, we're happy to talk with you by phone or by Zoom in order to make sure that you're comfortable with the process as it moves along. In order to help us avoid problems, here are some bottom lines that are important for you to know and for everybody to adhere to. First of all, that our students cannot begin their internship without that liability insurance or our established MOU with the agency. Students may not transport clients in their own vehicle. Students may not perform home visits alone. We need for them to always be with agency personnel if they're doing any home visits. Students can't cram their time, meaning that they can't try to get in all of their 200 hours within the first month and then take off the rest of the semester. The program's designed for them to do about 14 hours a week. There's some flexibility built in if the student needs to take time off or if there's not appropriate time at the agency, that a little more can be done here and a little less there, but ideally we're trying to establish a semester's worth of flow, both of their time and of the assignments that move along with those. If there are problems, we really encourage supervisors to communicate early and often with us, to let us know right away if there seemingly are problems, and to try to speak with students directly about that. And to that extent, on our end, we're going to be encouraging the students to be patient, persistent, and professional in communicating their concerns, to make sure that they bring them to you first if there's concerns that they have, and that they don't use us as a negotiating force until either you or the students feel like that is necessary. We don't like to change field placements midstream, but if that is the only workable solution to a particular situation, we will do that. We believe in the help isn't help unless it's helpful, and our students are there to be helpful to the agency. So therefore, if a situation arises where it does not feel like it's productive for the student to be there, we certainly will make sure that we can get the student shifted to another placement that may be a better fit at that time. As the field supervisor, you can determine what work is. So there can be online work that's done at home or offsite, but only if it's approved by the supervisor and in coordination with the field seminar instructor. And this was especially needed during times when we were working with the COVID-19 pandemic, where their agencies may have been closed or they were restricting on-site personnel. And so therefore we needed to be creative and make sure that we were providing tasks that students could do and training that they could do safely at home or online. And to that extent, students must adhere to agency COVID-19 mandates that if there's any problem with that, you just need to let the field instructor know, and we'll work on that situation with the student. Our goal here really is to establish a program that provides as much support to you as is comfortably needed, and to the student in a process, so that you both can collaborate together for a very positive field internship experience. We've heard from many of our field supervisors that our Thomas University students are really highly valued, especially in that second semester when there may be a drop-off of full semester interns from other programs, and you have students that have experience and confidence already in hand to keep continuity of care going for clients and support for your agency personnel. So you can help us by letting us know how we can be most of assistance to you. If there are ways that we can provide better support for you, better training, more information about particular policies or procedures, just let us know, and we are happy to do everything we can to try to work things out. So we look forward to working with you and your agency in this coming school year. If you have any questions about this presentation or the field program at Thomas University, please be in touch with me. I'm happy to field your phone calls or emails, and I look forward to working with you all in this next coming year. Thanks very much.